Morning, YouTube. All right, we're gonna go through a quick plumbing tutorial, just how to fix some frozen pipes, being that we've had so much cold weather here in Texas and a lot of people are probably headed to Home Depot, either that or waiting for a plumber. If you're waiting for a plumber, don't be afraid to tackle this yourself. But you people at home and the do-it-yourselfer, even the first timers, you can do this. Don't be afraid to try it. Matter of fact, we had a friend the other day that came over, never soldered before in his life. We should have videoed it, we didn't. We walked it through him about 5 minutes. He was able to take the few fittings that he needed, went home, fixed his own pipe, sent us a picture within an hour later. He had that thing fixed and the water running. So this is something you can do. Believe me, anybody can do it. You don't need to wait for a plumber or pay a high expensive plumber to come do this. Sorry, you plumbers. All right.
You traitor.
I've been a master plumber for 30 years and I'm going to walk you through. Hope I carry everything and cover it all. If we don't cover it all, leave us a comment and we'll reply, and then that way you know how to fix what you have. All right, we're going to cover some of the old stuff first. We're going to start with galvanized. A lot of people don't have galvanized anymore, but if you do and you want to replace it with galvanized, you can also pre-fit and interchange galvanized with plastic or PEX. But in case you got galvanized or black steel pipe and you want to fix it, this is how you're going to do it. You're gonna take, for instance, if the pipe busts in the center of your pipe, I'm going to use this as an example. If your pipe busts here and it's threaded all the way from here to here, then you have to replace it from thread to thread. The way to do that is to cut it in half, unthread both ends, take it to somebody that has a threading machine, or if you have a buddy that has one, I'm gonna pull mine down right quick and I'll show you what one looks like. This is a set that does small pipe, everything from 1/4 inch up to 3/4 inch, and it has dies in there and cutters, and as you turn, it cuts a thread on there. You can also rent these from a rental place and be able to fix your own. Buy random full lengths of pipe and cut what you want. That goes the other way, and once you thread it, you spin it the other way and it spins it right off. So once you get your threads cut on 2 pieces of pipe, you're going to put a union in between there, and that's to where you can pull it apart and put it together. So that way you screw this piece this way to get it threaded back in, and this one that way to get it threaded back in. And when they both line up, you slide these two together, put a little bit of pipe dope on that just to where it'll help seal it. And you can use anything. This is Rector Seal pipe dope, but they make it in Teflon, gray pipe dope. Really any kind of a pipe dope sealant will work. Put it back in together, and when you screw it together, you'll need like pipe wrenches or something, or some big wrenches, depends on what size pipe you have. And then you just tighten this big nut holding this one, and when you tighten it, it'll squeeze that back together and you'll be fixed on your steel pipe. That covers that. A lot of people don't have steel pipe anymore. Back in the day, that's all it was, and it's not as hard to fix as you think it would be. Moving on. Next thing we're going to cover is PVC. PVC is probably one of the most widely used. They also have CPVC, which it's different. CPVC is made for hot water. A lot of people use it for hot and cold water. So if you look on it, it will tell you which it is. If it's PVC or CPVC, which I'm looking, and I guess I cut a piece that doesn't have it on there. But PVC is almost pure white. CPVC has kind of a yellowish tint to it to where you'll know which one's which. It does make a difference. So when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or your local hardware store, make sure you know what you're buying before you get there, because it won't glue up if you have the opposite one. It's very easy to do. You have to buy both primer and glue. I like using the hot purpose glue. This one's called Rain and Shine, but they also have one that's called red hot. It's just, you can actually work with this stuff in near water and it won't affect it. It will still glue. You can, if your line's a little wet, you can put this glue on both sides, and when you put it together, it will set that pipe. All you have to do is, it's pretty straightforward. If I can open the pipe, I'll show you all right quick. And sometimes, like my stuff has been sitting around, and if you've had stuff for a long time, it'll get congealed and you might have to rebuy it. This is still good. If it's drippy like that, or even if it's kind of a little gooey, it will still work. On your PVC pipe, just, you want to clean both sides. They say that you have to sand it. I've never sanded my pipe. Just clean what you're going to put in. That way you know that you're going in about the same distance as that cup. Either that or measure it. Just clean it. You want to clean both sides. Put a little bit of glue on each side. You don't need a whole lot. And then push it in and turn it and kind of hold it there for a second. You don't need to turn it a lot. Just give it a little twist and it'll set. But make sure that you hold it, because sometimes you'll glue it and it'll want to pop back off like that. You don't want that. Make sure it stays in there, and even that joint will hold, even though I pulled it apart a little bit. Let it sit until it starts getting hard. Now, when you don't need to wait too long on this glue, you want to wait about 15-20 minutes. Let it get good and set, and you'll be able to turn your water back on. PVC comes in all sorts. Of course, that's a T. This is a 90. This 90 has a glue side on one side and a female thread on another. That's another thing. When you go to your hardware store and you're asking for somebody for help, make sure that you ask for the right thing. Male threads are on the outside. Female threads are in the inside. So be specific, and also know your sizes that you're going to need. This is a 1-inch glue by 3/4 male. So if you have a fitting like that, that reduces from one to another, make sure that you get that same identical fitting to where you can fix it. When you're fixing PVC, you'll need to cut it past your fix or past your cut or broken area. Put a coupling there and extend it all the way either through the T. If you're going to have a T, you're actually going to have a coupling on all sides. And you have enough, most of the time, have enough room to push it apart, glue it back together, and it all should hold. If you have a threaded fitting, you'll need to get that piece out. Now, let's say that you have this screwed into a piece of metal and that little thread broke off in there. What you want to do is take a little propane torch. You can even get the little cheap ones, Home Depot, Lowe's, your hardware store. That is not, it's just a little tip like this with a knob on it. Those will work. What you want to do is you want to heat that metal until that little piece of plastic will turn soft in there, pliable. And you can take a screwdriver, stick it in there, and it will pop that little piece of plastic out of there. And then you're good to screw another piece in there, put a coupling on, measure your piece, glue it all back together, and you'll be up and running. All right, our next item and things we're going to cover is PEX. A lot of new houses nowadays have PEX in it. What's nice about PEX is it doesn't freeze normally through the line. What will freeze are your fittings. Your fittings are sometimes made out of brass or even plastic, and that sometimes if it's going to bust, I would say it's going to bust on a PEX. On that 90 or T. PEX is same thing. They come in a wide variety of styles and fittings. You can just get just about anything. That's a male adapter for 3/4 inch. Reducers, they come in all sizes, 3/4 to 1 inch, and just whatever size you need. That's a 1/2 inch female. It's a different style. It takes a different tool to do that, but I'm going to show you a way that I can use this fitting with the tools I have. I don't have the tool to actually press this one. It just, if I owned every tool to them, it'd be too expensive. But this little fitting, I can get to work on either one. I have two different types of tools and two different types of rings. This is one of the tools, and also same thing, you can buy this at Home Depot, Lowe's, and it presses this kind of little ring. It just sits in there, and when you squeeze it, it tightens it and clamps that little ring onto your pipe, and I'll press one here in a second. And then you also have the old style, and it's this type of ring, and I'll press one of these also, that you set in there, and when you press it, it just crimps that ring so tight that it won't be able to come off. What's nice about the PEX is you can cut it and PVC with the simple little tool. They're easy, quick, fast, just to be able to work with. On your PEX, what you want to do is when you push it in there, make sure you get your ring on first, whichever one you're going to use. We're going to do this clamp first. And when you push your fitting in there, and some of them are pretty tough, don't be afraid to tap it in if you have to. You want to give yourself a little bit of room on it, and then when you crimp it, it will actually just suck that fitting on there. That one actually cracked. If it cracks, don't be afraid. You can pull that back off and you can do another one on there. To get them off, if you have like a little grinder with a cutting wheel, and you can even make repairs this way, is take a grinding wheel and cut across, not all the way to the fitting, but if you cut that band, you'll be able to pull that off there and get it off. But this one, I heard it crack, and see how it just cracked and broke off from there? Just pull it off, get another ring on there, and press it again. All right, next thing we're going to use a crimp ring. And these things, once they're on there, they're pretty tough to get off. All right, this crimp ring, same thing. Push it on. These won't break near as easy because you're just truly compressing that whole fitting. That's the only bad thing is getting it to line up, especially if you've got big fingers like I do. I always like to try to leave a little bit of space between there. And when you press it, that's a press fitting. Now, let's say you have a section of copper that you have frozen. This is a solder-on fitting that you can change from copper to PEX if you want to replace a section. If it's frozen though, you got to be careful. When it freezes, a lot of times copper will expand, and here's a piece that I have, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say expand. Sometimes that copper will expand and you can't get that solder joint to go over it. If that's the case, same thing with galvanized steel. You have to go from fitting to fitting in order to do that. So for the naked eye, that looks normal. I'm hoping it shows enough to where you'll be able to see what I'm talking about being able to fit on there. So this is 1/2 inch. It's truly outside diameter is 5/8. Us plumbers call this 1/2 inch, and we call that 3/4, but I'll explain that here in a little bit. But if you see it's almost the exact same size. See, that should fall in there, and that's the way it's supposed to go in there. See how that goes in there? Well, this is frozen so much that you're not going to be able to transition from here to here unless you unsolder it out of this fitting and then put a new piece of pipe in there, or they make this that will slide into a copper cup, and when you solder it, then you can transition to PEX. I'll explain more of that when we get over to the copper side, how to do that and get it all undone. But it's easy enough to do. It's just that if you don't know that and you're just starting off, it's a little bit difficult to try to figure out why it's not working. So if you run into this problem, just know that that's a big issue. Okay, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and try to show you. I'm going to get this little fitting off here. If this is all you can find, go ahead and use it. Don't be afraid that you have to use this little adapter. This is for a special made. You don't need any rings or anything. You slide this thing on, that tool crimps that little ring and it holds it on there. But it truly turns out to be the same as a PEX fitting. You can see that's a PEX ball valve, and it's for PEX, but it's just a different tool to press. You just slide that in there just like normal. Use either the PEX ring. Let me get a. They come in different sizes and stuff. So if you have 3/4, they're just 3/4 inch. But that is how they look, and you just slide that on there and it will PEX. This is 3/4 and this is half, but the same thing as the one that broke on me. Just slide it on there, PEX it on, press it on there, and you're done with it. You don't have to keep fighting with it. PEX comes in a wide variety of all kind of fittings, so make sure you know what you're asking for when you get there. Is 90s or females or males. That's true with all plumbing. All plumbing is going to be male outside threads, female inside threads, and then the PEX fitting is the same, 3/4. Just ask for what size you have, and PEX will tell you also on the size of what it is, and this one, even I happen to cut it where it says PEX, but it'll tell you on it, and that way you know exactly what you need when you get there. All right, that's it of PEX. Let's move on to copper. Okay, I said earlier that I wanted to explain what the difference is between copper and getting the right size. Refrigeration copper, everybody calls it by the OD. Us plumbers use the ID. So to me, this is 1-inch copper.
OD is outside diameter, ID is inside diameter?
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. But yes, to us plumbers, this is 1-inch 1-inch copper, but it's truly 1.125" copper. And if you measure it outside, you can see that measures 1.125". And same thing with 3/4. We call this 3/4 copper, but it's actually 7/8 copper. If you look at it, it measures 7/8. So when you're measuring copper, go by the OD on everything. That way, if you go into somewhere and you ask for OD, hopefully they catch that, but pay attention to what you're buying, because it will make a difference. If you go to the wrong place and you ask for 3/4 inch copper, and if it's a refrigeration guy, he's going to think it's 3/4, which that 3/4 is OD, and he'll be giving you like a refrigeration size copper, and it just makes a difference. So pay attention to that and make sure you get the right copper. All right. Okay, our next thing is going to be copper. Copper is pretty easy to work with. A lot of people get intimidated about copper. Okay, here we go with copper. Main thing on copper is first you have to get all the water out of the copper. Sometimes if the copper's sitting up like this and the water is in it and water is sitting up to here, you have to get that water out of it. What we like to do is take like a little piece of clear vinyl hose, a straw, anything. Just push down in there, give it a blow. It'll blow water out. As long as the water's that far away from it, you can solder that line. There are some people that, and I've even done it myself, if water will not stop, and you absolutely have to, the old bread trick works. Stuff it full of bread, make a hard ball stuff that thing in there, get it down in there a little bit, put it together, solder it quick. That bread will wash out of your line. I don't like to do that. I like to try to use any kind of air I can to get the water out, and then make a quick solder, and you'll be in good shape. Once you get the water out, there's only a few things you really got to do. First of all, you want to clean your copper extremely well. You want it nice and shiny like that. And once you get it nice and shiny, you also have to do your fitting that way. And on your fitting, they make fitting brushes and stuff. You don't have to have fitting brushes. You can use, of course I have everything but a quarter. It's probably on that other table. You can use sandcloth on this. Put it on your finger and clean the inside of that fitting. You want it clean. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab my drill here. We just used that 3/4, and I'm going to show you how we do it. Okay, this is how because I'm a plumber, I have a lot of the tools. They sell these little fitting brushes. They're hand brushes, kind of like this right here. That's for a 1/2 inch. But I do is I pull that thing off, break that handle off, and I use that in my drill. And it's just so much faster. You can see how much cleaner it is too. All right, so once you get it good and clean, buy yourself some flux. I use Aqua Flux because it will wash out with water. If you leave it sitting around for a long period of time, make sure you stir it a little bit, because sometimes they'll separate. If it's real hot and you've had it around for a while, you want to put a light layer of flux on both sides of a dry fitting. The key to it is get it dry, get it clean. Just wipe some on it. You don't have to be afraid. And then once you push it together, make sure it goes all the way in. A lot of times when I flux something, I know from experience that it's going to take up that much. If you don't know, set it against it. Put a little pencil mark there to where you know that it's going to go all the way in to where it's got to go. Once you do that, and any little torch will work. You don't have to have a super fancy torch. Just like I say, the little ones from your Home Depot hardware store. They're going to look a lot like this. They'll work to solder. This is what I use. Solder comes in multiple things too. You do want to use the lead free. They've quit using the old lead solder a long time ago. 50/50 is what we called it. Everything nowadays, almost anything you buy in the store is going to be lead free, so you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't need to be Silver Bright. I don't know what Home Depot Lowe's sells, but it'll work. And you don't need a big one like this. I don't know if they sell it small, if you're only going to do it for a little bit. But keep some in hand. Keep some in your pile of stuff that you keep for repair and stuff. But on that, when you start soldering, what you want to do is you want to concentrate your heat around here, but you don't want to just set your heat on it and hold it in one spot. You want to move it around a little bit, get that heat moving. And what I do, I always bend my solder just a little bit, and I'll actually start, once I know it's hot enough, I'll actually start running it to the bottom. That way, if it's melting down there, you know it's hot, and you can take your heat off, and then you can finish soldering it up. If it feels like it's not melting, hit it with a little bit of heat, and it'll melt. This might get loud, so I'm probably not going to be able to talk to it. All right, here we go. Just like that. Just heat it up a little bit. Don't be afraid of, getting it on the cup, and that's what I call the piece from here to here is the cut. You can get a little of your pipe hot too, but keep it moving. Don't just stop and do just this, because it can burn your flux out of there and you won't get a good solder. So once it's hot, see how fast it melted? See if it's melting underneath? You don't need to keep giving it more heat. I like to take a rag and wipe that down. It's not necessary, but it's just for looks. But once it's soldered like that, you're fine. That's all you need it to do, is just give it a good solder, and you'll be good to go. You don't have to worry about that thing leaking. It will hold. And like I say, anybody can do that. It's not that difficult. Anybody who wants to try it, grab yourself a torch. And if you're doing it not even when it's cold and you have busted pipes, practice. Pick that thing up and try to solder. If you're having trouble, leave us a comment. We'll try to talk you through what needs to be done and how to do it. But hopefully that helps you on the copper end of it. Copper comes in a bunch of different sizes and stuff, all the way from 1/2 inch, even 1/4 inch, all the way up to 6-inch copper. 6-inch you have to braze and stuff, and even the big pipes you have to braze, but we're not going to get into that. Most people aren't going to be doing big pipe. But on a fitting, what you want to do when you go in to ask for something, you have to ask for it for the right way. If you're asking for something, if you go into a plumbing store and you're going to ask for a fitting, make sure you know, say it right way. A lot of people confuse fittings the wrong way, or they say it the wrong way. They'll say 3/4, 1/2. Well, fortunately, this one is 3/4, 1/2. Let's take this one for an instance. I think that's 1 1/4. This one here, if you say you want 1 1/4, 3/4, 1 1/4, you're going to get the wrong fitting. The correct way to read a fitting through all of plumbing, even big PVC plastic drain lines and stuff, are to say it from the big end first, straight through, then the side. So this is 1 1/4, 1 1/4, 3/4. This is a 3/4, 1/2. It just happens to 1/2 on both sides. But if there was, you can get this in 3/4, 3/4, 1/2, or 3/4, 1/2, 3/4. I'm trying to think, my little mind's not working so fast, but you can get that in different sizes, but you want to make sure that you ask for it the right way. That way you get home, you order a bunch of stuff and you think you've got it all right, and you pull your stuff out and start putting it together. It's probably not because they gave you the wrong thing, it's because you asked for it the wrong way. So please remember that on plumbing, all plumbing, even PVC, drain fittings, if you're building a house, and we'll explain this when we got a project coming up. We're going to explain exactly how to do this and walk you through those steps. But always remember, bottom, big bottom, straight through, and then side. You'll get it right every time. Galvanized, PVC, PEX, no matter what you're working with, that's key to plumbing. Okay, we're good. Oh, before we go, also, fittings, they make something that's called a street L. You see me all ago use this inside that fitting that I was showing you that was frozen. This is a street 90. That means that this side is the same as your pipe. This is a regular 90. They look the same, but this being a street will go inside of a regular. So if you need that fitting, and make sure you ask for that fitting, and pay attention when you look at your frozen pipes. If you have something like that in there and it looks weird, I almost bet that you have a street somewhere. They're used a lot. So just so where you know, they have street fittings in all sizes also, and that way you know, if you see that you're not confused and you know which one's which. All right, we're going to show you a couple of items that we found. I went to my buddy's place down in Karnes City, and we've been down there before, and it's been on our channel. This thing is frozen. He's in a mobile home, and that's how that valve looked, and it was inside of his bathroom. And when I finally got the water on the other day, I walked in there and there was water everywhere. What had happened is this little valve froze. It was on the outside north wall, and when it froze, this just popped off and water was just spewing up out of here. This happened to be CPVC line that coming up, And it's kind of a shark bite fitting, and I wish I had a shark bite fitting to show you. That's another option you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. Is you can just push it on, and it has little bitty rings that once you push it on, it locks that pipe onto it, and it's leak free and stuff. And it's a quick option if you want it. The only bad thing is if it's a frozen piece of copper like we talked about earlier, you're not going to be able to use that. So, but if you're looking for shark bite fittings, they do have them, and they have them in multiple different sizes and stuff. It's just a matter of cutting that line, getting it clean if it's copper. If it'll go on there, just push it on, and you're done. No tools really. It might be a good option. They are quite a bit expensive, but if you're looking for something super fast and a way to do it without too much complication, that might be an option for you. But anyways, this little line broke off, and I'll take one down there and fix. I'll just take a male adapter and glue onto that PVC, and I'll put him a new stop on there just like this with a flex that screws onto this. And this is a compression fitting. When you see that little ferrule like that, that is a compression fitting, and you just take that off. And most hoses now are pre-made to where you can just screw this directly onto a compression stop like this, and it will go right back up to your faucet. So I'll just screw that CPVC male 1/2-inch adapter into here, glue it onto that fitting, and hook back up to his faucet, and I'll be up and going in less than 10 minutes. They make faucets in all different sizes. This is an iron pipe stop by quart. This is a 1/4 turn. It's kind of like a little ball valve inside there, but then they make them straight through compression by compression stop. This is a real, it's not a 1/4 turn stop like our ball valve. And then they also make this same kind of fitting. They look pretty close the same. This is another 1/4 turn. Compression it would go the same way as there, but it also has compression on this side. If you have one of these, and not even if it's frozen or something, but if you've got one of these that's not working, just turn your water off. 90% of the time, maybe even more, you can just screw this off, buy another compression valve, and that nut will match up with that other compression, and you just screw a new stop on there, and you're up and running. With a new stop, being able to turn it on and off if your old one's rusty or just not working, and you can change that stop out without having to do a whole lot of work on it. They also make them in dual stop. Compression on this side, 3/8 on both sides. This goes like to a kitchen sink. One might go to your dishwasher. This one go to your kitchen sink, and you're feeding 2 appliances off from one stop. And they also make them in 1/4 by 3/8 or whatever. So they're universal just about anywhere you go. Talking about stops, different styles. This is a ball valve. When you turn it, there's a little ball inside there that turns. These are probably the best when you're getting valves because they're more positive cutoff, less parts to go bad. The old style, this is a gate valve. What's bad about a gate valve is exactly what it says, is there's like a little gate in there that when you close, that closes it off. But what happens with some of these old gate valves, if it's sitting right side like this, dirt sits down inside this little channel, and when you go to close it, it might hit that dirt and it won't let it close all the way, so that thing will leak water through there. We've gotten away from these. We don't use these very often, but if you have them, these are probably cheaper than the ball valves, but if you can all do anything, is to go with a ball valve. Ball valve is the best way, and they make them, like I said all ago, they have them in PEX also. PEX, you can just cut your line, put these in, and be able to isolate your valve. They also make a little decorative stop like this in PEX that you can put underneath like sinks and stuff. Flexes come in all different sizes also. Flex comes to toilets. They have that the nut on this side that goes to the toilet, just like they do for a lavatory or sink, and they have this on the other side. I don't know what else I have here. This is something that happened at my house. This was on my shower valve, and why we decided to do this video, just kind of wish we would have done it a couple of days ago. That way some of you people that are experiencing this right now would help. This thing had a little bitty crack in it, and I happened to get water in my floor of my shop. And this little shower valve, now what I did is I just unscrewed this and put a plug in its place. But thank God it kind of did, because it reminded me that copper will expand with that ice. And a lot of people are going to get confused when they go and buy something and they cut that line and they can't get them two fittings to go in there. Just to where this way you'll know that it does happen, and it might stump you there for a little bit, and you tell people, oh, you know, you sold me something and it doesn't work. It's not that. It's that more than likely, if you have copper and it froze, it expanded enough to where it's not going to work. Go from fitting to fitting, change it all out, get the water out of it, unsolder this. You can actually unsolder this. If this is tied to something, put your heat there, cut this section off, and as you heat it, pull and wiggle on this as you're going, and it'll pull out of there. Once you get it out of there, just take a little wire brush, clean it up, put a new piece in, or change it to PEX like we were talking about earlier. Just swap it over to PEX if you got a long section. Put your new piece in there and you're backing up and running. I hope this helps everybody. Let us know if you have any comments, good or bad. If we can help you at all, let us know, because we do a little bit of everything. We do our own refrigeration, we do plumbing, our own automotive, we do a lot, and we're going to start previewing some of this stuff that we do, just to help y'all be able to understand how to do it without having to pay somebody to do it. And plus, it's good knowledge to do. My dad and my father-in-law taught me a long time ago, try it, attempt it, and then if you can't do it, ask for help. But 90% of the time, you're going to be able to do it yourself and be able to figure it out. All right, I hope this helped. Let us know if you liked the video. Subscribe and comment below and give us a thumbs up. All right, appreciate it. Bye.